In this video we're going to look at valid arguments. An argument is made up with a set of propositions. One is called a premise and one is called a conclusion. So we often use therefore or hence. So if we have a look at an example, all the examples that you're going to see are going to be in this form. If George is at the beach, then he is getting sunburned. George is at the beach, therefore George is getting sunburned. So that is our argument with our two premises and also a conclusion. So we can separate out our premise and conclusion, and you often see that with this horizontal line you see here. If George is at the beach, then he is getting sunburnt. That's one premise. The other one is George is at the beach. Our conclusion is therefore George is getting sunburnt. Now we can break this into different propositions and test its logic with our truth tables. So if we break it into P, George is at the beach, and Q, George is getting sunburned. So we split that up. The argument becomes, if George is at the beach, like it was, then he is getting sunburned. We can represent that with our symbols here. If P, then Q. And also we have our P statement in second as our second premise, which we represent as P. Finally, our conclusion, therefore George is getting sunburnt. We know that is our statement Q. And there we have our statement. If we combine these together to make an argument, if P, then Q, and P, then, so double-headed, then Q. So all of your arguments are going to take this form. If P, then Q, and P, then something else. So that's the way we construct them. Now we can test them in our truth tables. So we put that in. So if P, then Q, and then we will need to use our logic tables here. So if P is true, Q is true, then we have a true value. A true and a false value gives us a false and a true value gives us a true, and a false also gives us a true. And then we have if P then Q and P, so this column and this column. So is it true and true? Yes, it is. True and false must be a false. A false and a true is false, and a false and a true is false. Remember, with an AND statement, we need them both to be true. Then finally, we have if this column, then Q column. So we have a true, then a true. That would make it a true. We have a false, then a true. That is a true statement. We have a false, then a true. Same as above. And a false, then a false statement. And that is true as well. Sorry, I think I said this second one should be a false and a false, which is true. Either way, all of these work out to be true. And when we have a whole column being true, we know that it is a tautology, which means it is a valid argument. And that is the proof that you need. Good luck.